The clean, cool stream just off the edge of Sweet Apple Acres washed away the troubles of the day. Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo had had an exhausting set of adventures, and the refreshing dip was just what they needed. The clear waters washed away the heat of the sweat and the tree sap of another long day of play. Cutie Mark Crusaders had gotten an early start, terrorizing no fewer than a dozen ponies before noon. Their efforts had been unsuccessful, but enjoyable. Scootaloo's stomach grumbled, and her friend's stomach soon followed. They hadn't eaten the food they had made around lunchtime. Silently, the three of them nodded to each other and understood it was time to get something in their bellies. "Hi, girls. What can I get for you? Do you need cookies, cake, cupcakes?" Pinkie Pie gasped. "Do you need a party?" "No, Pinkie Pie, we're just hungry," Sweetie Belle said softly. "Oh, that's okay. Delicious treats are fun, too. Here, try these muffins." Pinkie Pie pushed a tray of muffins that hadn't been there a moment ago across the counter toward the fillies and smiled. "Thanks, Pinkie. How much?" Apple Bloom asked. "Oh, girls, don't worry about that. I can tell you're really hungry, and I need some pony to tell me how these muffins taste anyway. I used a new recipe." "Free muffins? Thanks," Scootaloo grinned. "You're welcome. I'm always happy to help a pony in need. Anytime you have a problem, you can come straight to your Auntie Pinkie, and she'll help you make everything okie dokie loki." Rarity stood next to Roseluck, gossiping away as the Cutie Mark Crusaders trod out of Sugar Cube Corner. "Oh, I know. It's positively scandalous. There appears to be evidence, too. Haven't you noticed Lyra seems to be getting a little larger? I'm fairly certain she's expecting." Sweetie Belle stopped. "What's Lyra expecting?" she asked sweetly. "Oh, nothing, dear. Run along and play," Rarity said, shooing her sister off with a hoof. "I've never known her to have problems with her weight, so I don't know what else it could be. Oh, Bon Bon will be so devastated." "Oh, I know. Listen, sorry to run off like this, Rarity, but I need to be somewhere 10 minutes ago. I'll see you around, okay?" "Oh, it's not a problem at all. You go and have a pleasant afternoon," Rarity said, smiling. Sweetie Belle hadn't moved. "What did Lyra do to make her sad?" "Sweetie, it's nothing. It's just silly gossip. Lyra probably isn't really going to have a foal. Don't you and your friends have something to do?" "A foal? Why would that make Bon Bon sad?" "Because they're both mares, dear." Rarity suddenly went stiff, realizing she had set hoof on dangerous ground. Sweetie was still a young filly, and she didn't know certain things. Things Rarity didn't want to have to explain right now. Apple Bloom and Scootaloo were now standing to either side of their friend, having become interested in the conversation. "I thought every pony always got excited about new foals," Scootaloo said. "Well, this foal would have come from somewhere else, and—" Rarity trailed off as she stepped backward. She was getting pushed into a corner, literally and figuratively. "Somewhere else? Where do foals normally come from, and why is this different?" Scootaloo asked. "Aren't you girls still a little young to be asking about foals?" "We're not little, and we're just displaying a healthy curiosity," Sweetie Belle chimed in. "Scootaloo, Apple Bloom, I'm sure your families will tell you all about the birds and the bees later. Sweetie Belle, what do birds and bees have to do with ponies?" Apple Bloom asked. "Oh, dear. You know, girls, this is a rather delicate topic. It's usually best for a young filly's parents to explain it to her, but only when she's ready. I just don't think that—" "Aw, come on, Rarity. Just because we don't have our cutie marks doesn't mean we're immature little foals." "Come now, Scootaloo, I didn't mean to imply that. Please, Rarity, I'm awful curious." Apple Bloom was making that face, and Rarity was having a difficult time ignoring it. She would have to give them an answer, but she didn't feel comfortable giving her sister the talk just yet, much less to unrelated little ponies. Recalling her own youthful experiences asking her elders difficult questions, and remembering the ridiculous answers she had been given, she decided there was no harm in stretching the truth a little, and leaving out some details. Rarity sighed loudly and dramatically. Very well, then. You want to know where foals come from? Sit, and I shall tell you all about both the birds and the bees. There was a rapid and insistent knocking on the library door. Twilight Sparkle pulled her muzzle out of the book she had been reading and glanced up the stairs. She quickly shook her head and trod over to answer the door. Spike, please hurry and get Twilight. Oh, perfect! We was just looking for you, Twilight. Apple Bloom rushed inside, followed by Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, both of whom were struggling to carry large burlap sacks that were twitching and writhing. Oh, hello, girls. What can I help you with? And what's in the bags? Oh, well, you see, Twilight, we was hoping we could get some help with a spell. I'd be glad to help, but, your bags are moving. Don't you worry none about that. These here are ingredients. Twilight had a worried look on her face, and then glanced upstairs again. Spike's been feeling a little under the weather, but maybe we should get him to help us with this. It looks like you girls have got your hose full just holding on to the, spell components. I'm sure actually utilizing them will be at least as difficult, if not more. Just wait here, and I'll be right back. Each of the Cutie Mark Crusaders beamed a wide smile at the lavender unicorn as she ascended the stairs. Do you think she can do it by herself? My sister says it takes 2 ponies. Of course she can. Rarity said it was a special kind of magic, and Twilight is like the most magical unicorn in Ponyville. She's practically the Rainbow Dash of magic. I wouldn't worry about it. Why, if even half the stories my sister tells me are true, she can definitely handle it. The filly's debate was cut short as Twilight Sparkle came to the bottom of the steps with Spike right behind her. The two crossed the room and stood in front of the eager trio. Okay then, so what exactly are we doing here? Twilight asked. Yeah, and why'd I have to come down here? What do you need my help for? Spike grumbled, brushing one claw under his nose. Apple Bloom spoke up. Well, you see, Rarity just told us all about the birds and the bees and how foals are made, and we thought it sounded real exciting. Twilight's eyes shifted back and forth between the 2 large squirming bags. I'm not sure I understand. Spike sneezed. A huge ball of green flame shot out in front of him and engulfed the bag Sweetie Belle was holding, causing it to disappear in a great puff of smoke. Great. It took us forever to get all those birds, Scootaloo huffed, dropping her cargo as she crossed her forehoofs in frustration. Birds? What's going on here? And what's in the other... Twilight's eyes fell to a lump of fabric on the floor as she watched the wriggling mass inside of it inch closer and closer to the now free opening at the end. The Cutie Mark Crusaders bolted out the door, immediately knowing they didn't want to stick around to get in trouble and get stung. The library erupted in complete chaos, and Twilight cried out loud enough that every pony in Ponyville could hear her. Fluttershy quietly squeaked as she fell to the ground. The trio of fillies stopped running to offer their apologies to the poor Pegasus, and 2 of them turned to continue running. Apple Bloom did not. Wait a minute. Fluttershy knows all about critters and stuff. Maybe she could help get all them bees back where they belong. Fluttershy stood and gently brushed herself off. Oh my goodness. Has there been an incident with bees on the farm? Nuh-uh. The bees are all at the library, scaring the living daylights out of Twilight. Oh, why would there be a swarm of bees indoors? The 3 little ponies all looked downward and shuffled their hooves. Girls, I know you're eager to discover your special talents and all, but it's dangerous to disturb wildlife. Yeah, we know. We were just going to have Twilight help us make a foal, Scootaloo said with a guilty look on her face. Oh, my. You girls are much too young to be having foals. I mean, and bees should certainly not be involved. But my sister told us that you needed birds and bees. Oh goodness. I think there's been a misunderstanding, girls. The birds and bees are just metaphors. There aren't actually any birds or bees involved. I don't get it. where do foals come from, then? Fluttershy's face turned a deep red, and she shrunk backwards. Oh, well, you see, when a mare and a stallion... could you repeat that? I don't think I heard you. Scootaloo stepped forward. The powerful blush on the timid face of the Pegasus intensified, and she made herself even smaller. Her lips moved, but it was impossible to hear a word. Fluttershy, you're gonna need to speak up. Where do foals come from? By this point, Fluttershy had closed her eyes and become a tiny, shivering ball of fur. Her mouth still moved, but there was no trace of sound coming out. The Cutie Mark Crusaders had returned to their clubhouse to formulate a plan to deal with the bees. Maybe they would be really talented beekeepers. They set to work drawing out ideas to get their situation under control, when Sweetie Belle stopped and set her crayon down. Girls, we still didn't find out about where voles come from. I don't think I want my Cutie Mark to have anything to do with bees. Yeah, me neither. Besides, I'm sure Twilight's crazy magic can deal with a few bees. You're probably right. Hey, Applejack. Where do foals come from? The farm pony dropped the basket of apples she was carrying and froze in place. She didn't look forward to this conversation, but she had always believed honesty was the best policy. We tried to ask Fluttershy, but she got all embarrassed and quiet. Yeah, and Rarity said a bunch of junk about birds, bees, and the magic of love. Blech. Applejack slowly turned to face the three fillies with a nervous look on her face, telling her sister she could do, but there was no way it was right to go putting ideas into their ponies' heads. Granny Smith was furious the day Big Macintosh came home talking about what his buddy had taught him about hard cider. Honesty was all well and good, but a pony could get mighty angry if their foal learned something from the wrong place. If the fillies had already asked more than one other pony and not found an answer yet, it was unlikely she would be able to get away without telling them something. You don't say. Well, I reckon I could tell you about it. It's not particularly complicated. Well, when two ponies love each other very much, and they decide they want to have a foal together, they write a letter to the princess asking if they could please have one. Then, the princess uses her real fancy magic, and poof, that's how a foal gets made. Yep, definitely. Well, that explains magic and love, but that doesn't have anything to do with birds or bees, Scootaloo protested. Oh, well, you see, the bird is the stork. It's a special kind of bird. It flies out from place to place, and it flies out from the palace, and it brings the new foal to its parents. Yeah. And the bees are just... They're just the way ponies used to send letters. Yeah, that's it. Applejack's snout was scrunched up, and her eyes were darting rapidly around the area. She would make a terrible poker player,